Howdy folks, Sty North here, out here at base camp. Just another day in camp. Um, I've got a kind of a big project going on this afternoon. Got to get it done before the end of the day. They're saying there's a chance for rain tonight. If I don't get this project done before it rains, I'm going to regret it. What I'm doing is the big outfitter's tent here that I stay in during the summer ended up worse for wear for the winter. We put a big 12 by 24 tarp over the whole works, and we keep it up. Basically, base camp stays up year round. And the tent's getting a lot of years on it now, and a little bit of dry rot here and there, and some things that come with age. Well, this last winter was really tough on it. It wasn't just tough on the tent; it was tough on the tarp. We ended up with 2 large holes in the tarp from the snow load. Those holes were created by the 2 upright poles in the center of the tent that hold the roof up. Those pressure points tore the tarp, so we ended up with 2 holes in the roof of the tarp. So what I've done is I've removed the tarp off of the tent and put it off to the side, and we've got a new tarp to put up on the tent today. So I'm going to put that up there today. That's my project. But can't be all work and no play, so I decided, well, I need to take a break. Here I am, surprised, with my coffee. And I thought, well, I'm the kind of person where to take a break, all that goes through my mind all the time when I'm sitting down taking a break is, oh, that needs to be done. Oh, that needs to be done. So I'm always getting up and doing things, and just can't. I have a hard time sometimes just sitting still, because there's always something that needs to be done. So it's hard sometimes to just sit and take a break. So I decided, nope, today I'm going to just sit. I'm going to take a break, and I'll tell a Sty story. At least it's something constructive. It's something that I can throw up on the channel, and something for your enjoyment, something to pass my time while I'm taking a break instead of getting up and working. So okay. Sty story for today. I think you might get a kick out of this one. This is kind of a survival story. It's kind of an odd story. I'm going to call this story, What's Up, Doc? Okay, now this took place when I lived out west. There was an individual that few people ever saw. This fella, I would bet you that 1 out of 100 people that I met or spoke to out there had never seen the guy. And then of those that have seen him, I would say less than half of those people that have seen him even knew who he was, where he came from, and what's he doing there. Okay. So anyway, this fella, I'm going to turn it back a little bit. Okay, I'm up in the backcountry, right? I'm just out there loving it, hiking around, and I've got a full kit with me. I got my backpack, bedroll, shelter, everything. Full kit. Thinking, well, I'm going to spend 3-4 days out there. So I'm hiking around on this one mountain. It's not a very big mountain, it's definitely a mountain though. from one side hiked up to the top and down the other is probably about, I'd say 14 to 16 miles. So yeah, it's not a hill, it's definitely a mountain. And the access to that mountain, there was only one road that went part way up that mountain and then it stopped. Only the one road. Otherwise that whole mountain, no way to get into it except on foot. And most people didn't go there. There really wasn't anything there, everybody said. There's nothing there. The only reason to go there might be if you wanted to elk hunt in the fall. Well, I didn't agree. I hiked on that mountain quite a bit. It's just a beautiful place. Wonderful hiking. It's a lot of, it was all timber, but there was a lot of nice open forest floor for hiking. It's just, it's so easy to navigate around on that mountain. And a few high mountain meadows that were really nice. Well, on one side of that mountain, there was an old stand of cedars. Big cedars. I mean, they're 4 foot across, 5 foot across at the base. And it was just a little grove of those ancient cedars, the old cedars, that the loggers never got, that the forest fires never got, and there it stood. Beautiful little grove of cedars. Well, I could see it from a distance, so I headed right for it. I wanted to go check it out. And I get down there, and it's beautiful. It's got a nice little creek meandering through it. And there's some of those big old cedars that had come down over the years. Well, there was one that I saw, and it was probably a log about 20 feet long. And that thing sitting on the ground sat more than 4 feet up off the ground, laying on its side. It was really tall. Well, I come around the one end of it, and it was hollow. So I was a little cautious. You don't know. There could be a bear in there. There could be a badger living in there. There could be all kinds of things that come flying out of there and take a piece of you. So I was real cautious. I come around the corner and looked in there, and there's a backpack in there, kind of a small day pack. And right away I started looking around. There's no fire pit, nothing, just that backpack towards the front. And I'm looking all around. There's nobody there. So I investigated a little further, and I looked in there, and it's like a nest. There's pine boughs in there, well, actually cedar boughs in there, and it's like a big nest. Well, there was a pair of boots, there was a jacket, there was a couple other items in there. And I thought, my gosh, somebody's hiding stuff in here? And then all of a sudden I heard somebody say, "Get away from my log." I turned around, and here's this fella that people would see in town. Well, nobody knew him by anything except Doc. Well, and I had met him before. Talked to him a little bit, but didn't know much about him. And I said, "Hey, Doc, you remember me, don't you?" And he looked at me for a while, and then all of a sudden he goes, "I remember you." He said, "What are you doing in my camp?" I said, "What are you doing up here in the backcountry living in a log?" He goes, "That's my business." I said, "Well, certainly it is." I said, "But," I said, "this seemed a little odd." He goes, "What's odd about it?" I said, "Living in a log." He goes, "I've got about 10 logs like this around the area, and this is one of my favorite logs." He said, "I like using logs for shelters, and I like being out in the wilderness by myself." And I said, "Well, you amaze me." I said, "I can't." I said, "And I don't see a fire pit, so it must be a cold camp." He goes, "Oh no." He says, "Come with me." And we walked about, I'd say 50 yards maybe, almost 150 feet away from his log, still in that meadow. And here's a nice little cleaned out area, and it's got a couple of logs rolled in for like sitting on, and there's a nice stone fire pit, and had been used, and he had made a tripod for hanging pots from it. Here's pots and all kinds of things. And he says, would you like a cup of coffee? I said, well, sure. He walks off, and he's got a cache up in the tree, and he lowers that cache down, pulls his little can of coffee out, comes over, and he gets us a pot of coffee going. I found out that fella had been living in the backcountry in them logs year-round. Now, mind you, year-round. Doesn't matter what time of year. Winter, right in the heart of winter, he's out there. And he had been doing that for about 6 years. And he'd come down to town about 5 or 6 times a year. And he'd just come into town, he'd go to the restaurant, he'd have breakfast or lunch at the restaurant. I don't know where his money came from, because he seemed to always have enough money when he came to town. He would buy certain supplies or replace broken items that he had. And then and it was surprising, he'd buy a lot of certain supplies, things like flour and coffee and sugar. And man, he'd have his pack loaded up 80 pounds with total, with all kinds of supplies, and he'd take off back up in the backcountry. Well, come to find out after having a conversation with him, he's stashing that food all over out there because he keeps moving around. He says, if I get a lot of hikers or people coming around, he said, I change locations. He said, just to get away from them. He says, but I like people's company once in a while. He said, so if I haven't seen anybody in a couple of months, he says, I'll head down to town, he says, and I'll have myself a meal at the restaurant, or he says, maybe I'll go to the saloon and have a drink with the guys at the saloon. And he says, then I get my supplies and I'm back in the backcountry. So there you go. I walked into a log that had a man in it. And all I could say when the man showed up was, what's up, Doc? What is this? What's up, Doc? Oh, I was surprised. Now there's a man that can survive 6 years out there doing that. I'd be amazed well, he was in his late 20s actually. He had been out there since he was 23. And I believe if he's still alive, he's out there somewhere. He's still out there. And I wish the best to old Doc. And I wish the best to all you folks too. That's Sty's story for today. What's up, Doc? People can survive. And he knew how. I don't think I could teach that old boy anything today. But he sure could teach us a lot. But you'd never catch him on camera. I guarantee it. If I would have had a camera with me and pulled it out, I think he would have either shot me or smashed my camera. But there it is, folks. I got to get back to work. I got to get this roof on the tent today, and a lot of other chores around camp. Things are moving along out here, so I've got, like I said, I've always got something to do. I'm just lucky that today I don't have any lessons or anything to do, so I just got this tent to repair, so I'm comfortable. So that's it. This is Sty North, Wilderness Thriving Fundamentals. Would love to see you out here, and you all have a nice day.